Hello, happy to share with you this morning what's new Google Part 2. Last week, we took a look at Part 1 where we dug into some of the new features and reminders for Google Slides and Google Docs. If you are looking for the link to the presentation for Part 1, the second slide here shows you these two underlined parts right there would be the links that you would need to use. And you can definitely access those from this slide deck as well, which I will share out along with the recording here that we're doing. So, once again, I'm Jeremy Mikla. I am the instructional technology specialist here for ACMEC, and I'm going to lead you through this tech tidbit, What's New Google Part 2. And you can reach me if you have any questions here with my email. And I would definitely enjoy talking with you and dealing with any questions or issues that you're having. So let's jump in. We are going to look today at two different Google Workspace for Education apps, the Chrome browser and Google Classroom. So let's take a look at some of the features here of the Chrome browser when you use that and some of the things that are new or updated or I feel are a little bit lesser used items. The first one here that I'd like to show you is reading mode. Reading mode is coming soon. And I know there's been other extensions in the past that allow you to get clean versions of the text from a web page, but reading mode is going to be built right into Chrome and is going to be one of these features that I think will be really helpful for some students who, especially, get distracted by all of the other things that might be on a particular page or that need to, for whatever visual impairments that they face. It's a great accessibility feature because it can enlarge text, it can add different backgrounds behind them, or make it the dark mode or even a yellow mode. And let me show you how those things here work. So here I have a web page, and as you can see, there's some content on here, but there's also some distracting stuff over on the side that can be troublesome for some students. So what I'm going to do is eliminate some of that, and I'm going to go up in near the top right-hand corner of my screen, and there is a little rectangle that's half clear and half white for the side panel, and I'm going to choose that. There'll then be a drop-down menu where you'll see reading list, bookmarks, and some other things. And there will be, if you don't have it right now, I'll tell you how to get it in a second. But it will be out for Chrome for everybody here shortly. It's called Reading Mode. And I open up Reading Mode, and it says, highlight some text you want to put into Reading Mode. And so I say, great, I'm going to highlight some of this stuff right here. And as you can see, it shows up over here on the side in the Reading Mode tab. It removes all of the distraction that you see on that page. And so now a student can, while they're still seeing everything on the page, can focus on what the actual text that they're supposed to read is. Now, not only does it show up here in reading mode, you can also change the font. So if you find that there is a different font that is easier for a student to read, then you can choose that one. Another cool thing about this is you can increase or decrease the text size of what's in that font. So if a student needs larger text, you can see they can easily add that or they can decrease it. As I said, there is a color palette that you can choose here that will allow you to view it in a normal mode, in dark mode perhaps, or even in a yellow or bluish background. If this text is too like chunked together, there's also some spacing that you can do to pull the lines a little bit further apart. Might make it easier for a student to track from one line to the next. Additionally, you can also choose to make it standard or wide so that it pulls the words apart this way as well. So reading mode is one of these great new features that's getting added to Chrome and one that I think you should take a look at and perhaps introduce to students. All right. So I did say it's not quite available yet. If you don't see it in your Chrome browser, you can add it from this page right here, but you have to type it in. And then as soon as you are done typing it in and you install it, you'll have to then refresh your Chrome browser and then it will be available for you in that spot. Next, let's move on to a feature that Google has had for a little while. It's called Fact Check Explorer. and it will dive into a topic and tell you that stories that are going to be misleading or perhaps are going to be false, or maybe they're missing some sort of context. And so if you open up this link here to Fact Check Explorer, you'll see that it gives you a search bar. So if I go into this search bar that it's going to give me, and let's just say I'm looking for something on climate change, you'll see that it's going to show me some different articles that have been posted in different places, some of them by USA Today. You can see science feedback, and a bunch of other ones that are on here. And then what it does is it gives you a rating. Like this one right here says it's misleading. Another one is missing context. Another one that says, hey, this is correct. This has actually been fact checked to be proved to be accurate. So it is a good tool. You can also put in there articles that you find or students find, and they can use that to fact check their work. Another feature of this that's going to be coming soon is going to be the ability to recognize images and whether or not images have been authentically produced or altered to be misleading, perhaps through some of the use of AI. So that one you'll have to kind of check back with Fact Check Explorer to see when those updates get made. The next thing here that I want to show you is something that's been around for a while, but I use this one all the time. So I feel like when I get the chance to share, Tango is something that I really, really like to do. And what Tango does is it creates how-to guide for how to follow directions of any new task or skill online that you're doing with a particular website. Have you ever in the past, you open a Google Doc and you are doing these how-to directions, and you say, step one, go to this site, and then you show a screenshot of it. Step two, log in, and you show a screenshot. Step three, click on this tab. Step four, and then a screenshot for everything, and you're drawing arrows and everything on this Google Doc. Well, and that it's very time consuming. Well, the Tango extension allows you to create these how-to guides directly through that extension. So if I go to Tango here, you could see one that I've created. I do some work with the Dollars for Scholars in Malacca, so that's why I just chose this. And it breaks it down for you in these different steps. Everything like first go to the website, then type in your email, then type in a password. And you could see for places that you click on the screen, it's going to automatically capture that for you as it follows the track of your mouse and your clicks on that particular website. It then will suggest, a title here for what you want to tell people to do, and then they can see what to do. So that's really cool. And then you can share these directions out when you're done by sending the link out to people. And then when they get it, they can actually access this in a step-by-step guide that will actually highlight the different steps while they're doing it. Really cool. I've only ever used the free version of Tango. I think you get about 10 of them that you can have at any one time. But of course, when you're done with ones that you don't need anymore, then you just delete them and replace them with a different one. So that is Tango. Definitely one I think you should check out. Google has its own AI similar to ChatGPT. It's called Bard. Bard is, I think, an emerging AI that I really have enjoyed using here recently. One of the features that I like about Bard is that in when using, well, let me compare it to ChatGPT. When using ChatGPT, when you type in your prompt and you get a response, and it's that one response. Now you can always regenerate and you can always get other ones, but in Bard it gives you three of them. And you can refer to all three of them. You can choose one that you like and focus more on that one, which is kind of a neat feature. The other thing about Bard, and here I'm going to switch to that tab here, is that it also has, when you put in a prompt, um, let's say I want to create an email about a field trip to the Science Museum for parents. And so as you can see, it does take some time for it to go through and to create those different things. And it created one here. And so if I want to see the other ones that it creates, I can click down on the view other drafts, and you can see I have three of them here. The other thing that's kind of neat here about Bard is that because it's Google, it can harness all of the powers of Google. So I can use this double check response button down here. And what it's going to do is do a Google search on this topic as well. And it's going to highlight things for you that may not be factually accurate that you're going to want to have to check on when you do that. And so you can see this part right here is something that I would have to go back and perhaps figure out if it is actually accurate. Let's then jump into Google Classroom. A bunch of different upgrades and features here to Google Classroom that are definitely worth taking some time and exploring. One of the things that you're able to do with Google Classroom is to be able to duplicate a whole class. If you haven't done this already, if it's a class that you're teaching again in a different semester or again in a different year, but you keep all of the same topics, you keep all of these same assignments, you just want to wipe out the student data associated with it. I can go back to the home screen here, find the class that I would like to copy or duplicate, and choose to copy it and give it a new name and select copy, and it will recreate that class with everything that's in it that you would use in your classwork, just no student data assigned to it. Another feature here, and I'm going to open up Google Classroom, are some updates that they have done to the grading within Google Classroom. And that is the ability to use grading periods, grading scales, categories, and weighted grades. So to find those different things, I'm going to go in to this classroom and I'm going to choose the setting cog up in the top right hand part. And I'm going to scroll down underneath to the grading section. And so as you can see here, I added a grading period. I just called it quarter one. I told it the date to start, the date to end, and to apply existing assignments into that period. So now when I set up an assignment and it falls between this date range, it's going to put it into the quarter one grading period. If it's outside of this date range and I've established another one, maybe for quarter two, it will then place it in the appropriate um, period based upon the date that you selected for it. Another thing that you could see here is the ability to change grading scales. So they've set up some here by default, but you can see you can click in any of them and you could choose to edit them for however they work in your class. Then you have the ability also to do grade calculations to make them weighted or by total points or nothing is graded depending on how you use Google Classroom. You can then also add the categories. As you can see, I've set up a few of the categories here and weighted them with these percentages. And again, by clicking on any of them, you can easily do that. You can also delete them or you can add other categories. Another new feature here that we have within Google is the ability to shut off late assignment submissions. So I'm going to go back to the classwork tab right here. And as you can see, I've set up this assignment. It is due tomorrow, and I've chose to close submissions after due date, after which time then students are not going to be allowed to submit any assignments to that particular thing. So that kind of like gives you a little bit more control over late work and how you want to handle that. All right. Other new features here that is not out yet, it's currently in beta, is to create shareable class templates in Google Classroom and be able to share them with another teacher. So the way that that would look is you can't see it right now, but there's going to be a little checkbox that's right here. Obviously, I'm not in the beta for this one right here, but by selecting these different checkbox right here, then there'll be a menu and an export feature and ask you if you want to share it. It will give you a link to the files that you want to share, and you can send them directly to another teacher who can then bring them into their own Google Classroom as well. Great for teachers that collaborate on the classes that they're teaching with different groups of students. So look for that one to be coming soon for everybody. The other one that is there is it's called class visits. Class visits allow any admin, and by admin I mean Google admin, not necessarily your principals, unless they are given those powers by your own technology coordinator or other Google admin. And what they'll be able to do is to go into your Google Classroom as an observer and be able to see what is going on in your classroom. It may seem big brother-ish, and it honestly has the potential to be that way. But really, what Google Classroom feels that it is more likely to be used for is to offer support to teachers who are struggling in their use of Google Classroom. So maybe it's a technology coach that can get that permission from the Google admin to be able to look in and help walk teachers through how to do different things within their classroom. It could be used by substitutes. A substitute could be given access to Google Classroom to see what kids are supposed to be working on during the time that they're there. And it can also be done perhaps by your principals or assistant principals that can go into and see what students' grades are and what their missing assignments are in case they're trying to manage some communication between parents and different groups of teachers. What's neat about this is that you can go into it and you don't need to be a co-teacher for any of it. And this access is temporary. I believe there's an expiration time period. It's somewhere between 2 and 4 hours, after which then they have to log back in again. The other thing with it is the classroom teacher is also notified when someone does access their Google Classroom. The next new feature here to Google Classroom I'd like to share is called practice sets. You can find practice sets here. When you are in the when you're in the classwork tab here, you'll see there's one called practice sets, and I can open up practice sets, and you can see that I have a couple that have been created. For example, this one here, I open them up, and what it does is it allows students to practice through some content in a way that they can use it as a review or as extra practice, or maybe even as some enrichment stuff. And you can try to send these out as to small groups of students or to whole classes. And so as you can see here, I just threw in a couple. Let me show you what it looks like if you're a student taking these practice sets. It will show you the question here and allow you to make a response. And the student can then check their answer. And yay, I got it right. Then you're looking at another one here, and I'm going to click on that and check my answer. And it says, oh, not right. Try again. Okay. I'm just going to go on to the third one here too. And the branch of government that helps interpret. Well, okay, then that one has to be correct. Process of elimination here. And of course it is. So kind of neat. I can also try this again and I can choose the correct answer here this time and say check. And perfect. Okay. So now, and I, of course, get some little confetti type stuff here as well. You can assign practice sets as well when you are in the classwork part here. And I go up and I want to create an assignment, right? And I can choose my practice sets from the menu below. And I can add one of these here. And I can attach it to this assignment. And of course, you can do the same thing with due dates, the topics, that sort of thing. I'm going to cancel this one because I don't want to add it right now. So those are practice sets. If you want some more information about them, this link right here gives you a lot more about it. A couple things I should say here too about some of these items with Classroom is that if you are not a teaching and learning subscriber or an education plus subscriber as a district, you are not going to necessarily get all of these features. How do you know if you are or not one of those districts that have this paid feature? Ask your tech coordinator, they'd be able to tell you. Okay, another cool thing that it's been around, but what's new is going to be the integration with Google Classroom, and that is using Read Along. Read Along is an interactive speech-based reading tool that allows students to practice independently to build their reading skills. It's kind of like a fluency reader, If you're interested in seeing how read along works, select this first link right here that says read along, and you're going to be able to see how students, I mean, it's pretty easy to see how it works. It highlights a word on the screen, and students then read that word. And with the microphone enabled, the AI is able to detect whether or not they're saying that word correctly, whether they're reading it correctly, and it then gives them stars if they get it correct. They have many different leveled books within there that allow them to progress and see their progress. It again, if it is something that you are interested in using, you can request access to the beta. It's not available for everyone right now. But you can see this is what it will look like when you can see the how it's going to monitor student progress right from within Google Classroom. I did also link a YouTube video right here under how to use, that shows you some of the steps to be able to set it up and send it out to your students. So again, another great one to look at in the future would be read along. And finally, last one right here that I'm going to share with you is interactive YouTube questions. This currently is available, and you can go to Google Classroom, and under where you click create an assignment, you can select YouTube right here, and you're going to be able to search for any video here that is in YouTube and be able to add that in. So, for example, here I'm going to pick this one that I've already added a few questions to. And basically, what you can do is you can play the video here. And as you progress through the video and you get to a point where you want to add a question, you just click add and you choose the type of question that you want to do. Type the question, what are some of the responses, and what's the correct one. And then it will stop the video as students are watching it, and the question will pop up. It'll be very much like Edpuzzle. And then students then progress through the video. You can make them watch the whole thing. You can allow them to skip spaces in between. And so this would then, once you decide to use it, you just attach it to the assignment right here, give whatever instructions you need, fill in the categories, fill in the topics, whatever you need there, and then assign it out to students to complete. So kind of a neat thing that is allowing further integration of these different Google Workspace apps. The other thing to look for coming soon is that Google is going to bring out AI generated questions for YouTube, interactive YouTube, that you'll be able to have them create questions for you based on the content of the video. So again, another cool thing to look for. So that's what I have here for you this morning. Uh, Thank you for joining me. If you're looking for more Google tips, check out my last year's presentation. You could see the bit.ly link for it right there. Otherwise, I hope you picked up a few things that you can use here. If you have any questions, or if you have an idea for a future tech tidbit, please reach out and let me know. Have a great one.